think Tevez going to Juventus, what a coup that was for me. I mean,
on a head-to-head battle, Atletico Madrid can do more damage to Barcelona than the other way around.
Either he's really blind or he's fixing the match. I can't see it any other way.
I'm trying to get Sir Bob on my side here by saying City will win the Premier League.
it is an upset. You would expect Man United to go and win there.
Over $1 billion was paid in transfer fees between the clubs in Europe.
It's football. It's damn football. Like Ferguson said, football. Bloody marvellous.
Yeah, well, the celebration was, I can't believe I just scored against Mexico. At one point, Parma, I think it's only like 224 players under contract. Hey, they want to throw me out of here, fellas. You're going to get me arrested on your show.
If you're a serious talent, you're going back and you're playing for Santos. You know, you're going back to play for, like in Argentina, for River Plate or Boca Juniors, or you're going to Europe.
He looked like the Ryan Giggs of old. He was more creative than any player on the pitch. He made Mata look stupid. He made Rooney look silly.
Now, the Premier League is the most exciting league out there. I think it's probably the best marketed league without a question.
When you look at the draw for the Champions League, you kind of say, well, all the pieces kind of fell into place for everybody except City.
I am your host, Joe Usello.
Sir Bob, Mike Orr, my co-host, Rob Rojas,
my trusted co-host, Ben the Machine. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 68 of Low Limit Football. I'm your host, Joe Usello, and excited to be back for another week of football. We got off of the international break. We're back to normal in our leagues and running well. We had some great matches this weekend. On the heels of El Clasico, we had our quote-unquote El Clasicos in a couple of other countries this past weekend, and we're going to be looking at a couple of more of them with the couple of weeks to come. So we've got a lot in store tonight. We're going to have a good time, that's for sure. Got a couple of great guests as well, and Nima Tavalley is coming back to us. And we also have somebody I'm very excited to talk about, one of the guys that I grew up watching, none other than the American goalkeeper Tony Meola. So Tony is currently finishing up his show Counterattack on Sirius XM, and he'll be joining us after that. So let me bring into the booth tonight, first and foremost, Mr. Rob Rojas. Rob, what's going on?
I'm doing well, Joe, and I would like to announce that I will be part of I've made my college decision. You
made your college decision. All right. I don't have a drum roll app, so it is?
Sacred Heart University.
Sacred Heart. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'll be studying journalism.
Excellent. No, that's going to be fantastic for you. Good luck with it.
Thank you so much.
Just make sure you study hard, and there will be plenty of time to play after, trust me. And off to the Great White North for Mike Orr. Mike, what's going on, man?
Just wishing for the next international break, Joe. After today, I can't wait for the next one.
You're dying for that Iceland Portugal
Anything
matchup.
Besides Manchester City game.
I hear you. You know, like we'd said in the pregame, we almost considered bringing the Man City cornerback tonight just for laughs. The way it went today, and I didn't get a chance to see the match, unfortunately. But if you want to give us the 30-second rundown on the match itself, why don't you tell us what happened today?
2 words: they lost.
That's it, huh? Nothing.
Yeah. Nothing else. No.
Now,
bad call, but not really why they lost.
I did hear about a couple of bad calls. I think about an Aguero handball. I saw you message us about somebody being 2 yards offsides. And I got to listen to a few minutes of the match on Talk Sport on my way home tonight, and even the announcers were talking about how it's unfortunate that this week in England they'll be talking again about the officiating and not about the matches that are being played. So, I mean, do you want to walk us through a couple of those real quick, or you'd rather just, it's a little too tender and you don't even feel like talking about it?
Yeah, I'd rather not. Just, I guess the complaining about officiating's worldwide.
Yeah, it is. But it seems like it's strongest in England, don't you think?
I don't know. It's pretty strong here in the MLS too.
Yeah, we did have a couple of stinkers this week in MLS, that's for sure. But we had some exciting matches in MLS that we'll hit this week as well. So Overall, though, to come back in from the international break, I thought we had a pretty good group of matches this weekend. I mean, we had, like I said, 2 classic matches between Dortmund and Bayern Munich earlier on Saturday, which we'll talk about in our segment coming up later on. We had the Marseille PSG match yesterday, which was a pretty exciting one. Certainly, there was one match. It was the Sporting Kansas City match last night, which had quite the finish, don't you think, Mike?
Yeah, wow, Philadelphia is bad.
Yeah, but talk about snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, huh?
Yeah, they're awful, awful, awful.
And that was a brutal close to that match. So, unfortunately, I think you're right. I think Philly is playing terribly. We can also talk about the Toronto goalkeeper in the MLS section as well. You and I had a quick little 2-second discussion about him earlier this week, right?
Yeah, he's pretty polarizing here in Toronto. A lot of people think he's better than decent, and a lot of people think he's worse than decent. I guess I'm still in the middle. I'm not sure. So I'm soliciting some opinions.
Yeah, I don't think he's god awful, but I think they could do better. And I think it's going to be on them in the transfer window to kind of figure that out what they're going to want to do. I think they have enough money in Toronto that they can possibly find somebody. You know what I mean? I don't think they have to settle with what they've got.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you can only really fault him on the one goal on Saturday, but we're missing a couple key defenders too, so I don't think that helps.
Sure. So I'll tell you what, it looks like we're just going to be just a couple minutes here before Nima's going to be coming on. So do you want to take us over to the trivia question quickly?
I can do that. Just give me a second.
All
right. I have been a teammate of Mika Richards, Santi Cazorla, Cristiano Ronaldo, Shea Given, and Andrea Pirlo. Who am I?
Oh, it's got to be an Arsenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. Can I have the list of names again, Mike?
Yeah.
I have been a teammate of Mika Richards, Santi Cazorla, Cristiano Ronaldo, Shea Given, and Andrea Pirlo. Who am I? And we can get to that later.
That's a hard one.
That is a hard one. I thought I had somebody in mind, and not so much anymore. Oh man!
Don't you hate when one of those guys just doesn't fit?
Yep, and that's what we've got right now. I mean, Rob, for you, who doesn't fit?
Rob's got the answer, so he doesn't.
No, I don't have the answer. Mika Richards, definitely.
Mika Richards not fit. See, for me, it's Andrea Pirlo. It's not fitting.
No Googling.
No, I'm not Googling.
No. This is
I know Joe has a tendency to Google.
I did that once.
Well,
so
no, these are all guesses.
Yeah.
Once is a tendency.
So I just got news from Nima that he'll be ready in about 3 minutes. So we've got a couple of seconds. Let's spend 1 minute. We had a couple of topics that I had listed in our opening thoughts segment. I guess we should spend maybe a minute on each one. The first one I want to talk about real quick is sad news out of Turkey this weekend, where the gunshots were fired at the Fenerbahce bus, seriously wounding the driver. Now, my understanding is that he's going to make a full recovery, and this is actually a story written by Nima for Gianluca DiMarzio. Seriously, we're shooting at buses. Mike, I'll give me your 10-second take on that situation.
I never read much about it. Unfortunately, I didn't have time today. I did read a couple of tweets from you guys yesterday. It's terrible, obviously, but there's a lot of bad things going on in the world.
Yeah. And Rob, how about you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Obviously we're hoping for a speedy recovery for the bus driver.
And hopefully safeness in all of Turkey.
Yeah. So, and we'll have to see what happens, but it was... It happened as the team was on their way to the airport to fly back to Istanbul after winning 5-1 away to Riza when the bus suddenly came under fire. So we'll have to see what turns up. And I don't, as far as I know, they haven't caught.
Which part of Turkey is this? Is this the
I'm not sure. I didn't look up on the map where Risa is.
Okay.
So Risa, Turkey.
Because there's like a Christian part of Turkey and
I don't think religion.
Muslim part, right?
So yeah, no, I do believe that's correct, but I don't know that had much to do with the incident overall. So
Yeah.
I don't think it was on religious lines. So the second thing that I want to bring up is a list that was put out by the FootballObservatory.com, which was the best performing players by position since January 1. And the list that I have, and Rob, I think you brought this to my attention last week.
I did.
Yeah, that there's some interesting names on these lists. It breaks it down by center back, leading the way by Emir Spahic from Leverkusen. The best central defensive midfielder was Nuri Sahin from Dortmund. Fullbacks, best fullback on this list performing since January 1 is Gael Clichy from Man City.
This list is a joke. No, seriously, the defending thing is just terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, keep going.
Martin DiMichaelis at second last maybe, and Gael Clichy at first. No way.
No, you should look at the attacking midfielders.
Yeah, the attacking midfielders: Eden Hazard, number 1, Mesut Ozil, Jesus Navas is third on this list, my friend.
Yeah, I had a Silva.
Ahead of Silva. Yeah.
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So
I think we've talked about this.
I think they put Ronaldo like 24th.
yeah, it was either 23rd or 24th. Yeah. And we had Lionel Messi.
What is this based on, though?
They actually have a key for rigor, recovery, distribution, take on, chance creation, and shooting, which all leads to pitch performance, and then hence the score that they would give.
Crazy.
Yeah, so but the fact that they put Cristiano Ronaldo, you couldn't tell from this weekend that Cristiano Ronaldo was like 23rd. He had himself a heck of a weekend. So, but just an interesting little list of names if you wanted to.
I would say that he hasn't been 23rd in anything to do with football since the day he was born.
Yeah, pretty much. He was born like 7th.
Yeah, or maybe even a little higher.
Yeah. This reminds me of that old Chicago Bears bit on Saturday Night Live. Ditka.
The Bears.
Yeah, Ditka and Jesus Christ. Ditka 42, Jesus 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exactly what it sounds like. But let's go to our last opening thought topic. And Mike, you'll love this one. Conflict between Copa America and the Champions League. If some teams make it to the Champions League final, there's going to be some conflict with releasing these teams to the Copa America. Now, I'd imagine
no conflict. That's the what Copa America agreed to when FIFA mistakenly left this off their calendar.
Actually, but it is. It's not that
it was a deal with CONMEBOL and the Champions League and UEFA. Sorry, and this is the deal they came up with.
But the way the article reads is that it's not. It's actually not the Copa America teams that would get screwed out of this. It's actually the Champions League teams because the tournament. And I'm reading from the article.
No, just the Champions League teams. Yeah, so it's well, that's just like I've said before. Too bad.
Yeah,
these tournaments, this is Champions League's bigger than Copa America. I'm sorry, but the final is
but what it is that the teams would have to release their players. The players have to be available for national duty on May 29th.
That's some other. I've read a different article where the players have to play in the Champions League final that are South American and that are on Champions League final teams.
Okay,
that's what I've read, and that. Actually, not read. I seen the interview on Sky Sports with the guy from CONMEBOL, and that's exactly what he said. It was an interview. Sorry, word from his mouth.
Yeah, this is an article from Ad Varsity Sports. That the way it reads is again the players must be made available for national duty from May 29th, and the Champions League final is on June 6th. So these teams could be recalling these players. These national teams could recall these players by right on May 29th or May 30th. And
I'm going to disagree with that article and go with the guy from CONMEBOL that I actually seen on TV saying that the deal they made with UEFA was the players have to be available for the Champions League final and then can be released to the national teams after the final.
We can always
So they would miss one, and I think there's one player that could miss 2 games because they play first.
We could always ask Nima this question. So you know what? Let me effort Nima. I mean, Rob, do you
Wonder if I can find? I don't know. I seen it on TV.
Rob, how about you? Do you have any info on this at all, or anything further while I'm efforting Nima here?
I don't, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory what you're saying. I guess tournament kicks off June 11th. People have to be there by May 29th.
Right.
It's a conflict, huge conflict,
Yes.
and this could be said a lot, but I could talk about this later.
It's going to be an issue, sure. So, but I want to cut you off because joining us now on Low Limit Football, back again from Gianluca DiMarzio, is Nima Tavalley. Nima, it's Joe Usello. How are you tonight?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for coming back on with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And I've got to apologize for my voice sounding like this, but I've had this flu thing going on for two months, so that's why I sound like that.
All right, we'll try to keep the questions short and sweet so that we don't strain it too much. My first question to you is we've just been talking about this in our opening thoughts segment. There was a report that came out that some of the players that are currently playing in Europe have to be released to their national teams on May 29th, according to the FIFA calendar. But the Champions League final is scheduled for June 6th, where these teams could possibly miss their Champions League final to be recalled. Now, Mike Orr, my co-host, says that it actually is the other way around, where the national teams can't recall these players. And so the national teams would be without the players. I'm wondering if you've heard about this scheduling conflict and what you know about it.
I mean, the rule of thumb is that, well, basically, if it's a competitive match, then the clubs have to, if the player is called, the clubs have to release the player to the national team. But from what I've heard, it's not exact. It won't be any like competitive matches back then. That's my understanding, that it's more training matches and friendlies. So this won't affect. This won't have a big effect on the eventual 2 teams that will play in this Champions League final.
Okay. So and I do slightly recall that rule of thumb, like you were saying. If it's a competitive match, then they're obligated. But if it's not, if it's a friendly, like you said, then it's a discretionary thing. So hopefully, it would just be a shame that you see, let's say, a Barcelona make it to the Champions League final.
Believe me, that will never happen. UEFA is way too powerful to let that happen, and they would have thought of this already. There's no way that if Barcelona or I don't know, Real Madrid are in the final or whatever, and you know what I mean? Like, it just wouldn't. That would never happen.
I could imagine the disaster.
It just wouldn't happen. UEFA wouldn't allow that. Like, it would just. Someone would have to get. This would be a giant screw up. I mean, if people would get fired, heads would roll. I mean, that would never happen.
No, I agree. So I want to bring you back to Italy and to something that you would cover certainly on SemperInter.com, and really just regards to Inter this week. Sort of a humiliating match where they drew Parma of all teams 1-1.
I got a really even more humiliating stat for you.
Oh boy!
Out of the 10 points that Parma have collected, 4 have been against Inter.
Wow!
So yeah, that's enough. That's humiliating. That really is humiliating, and that just goes to show the chaos that and the horrific season. What a step back this has been after last season. Despite everything, last season was a step forward.
Yeah.
This season is definitely a step back. However, I'm not worried, and most Interisti I know aren't that stressed out about it. To be honest, because last year at this point, we were with Mazzarri and we were higher up in the table.
Right.
And people were much more upset because the football we played was abysmal. This year, we have a world-class coach. We have a world-class coach who can attract big-name players. He's a winner. He wants to win. And he's the kind of coach that can get the big-name players, and he's also a big-name coach. So, the things, and also he's gotten us playing football that looks modern. There are spells and where we're actually playing this kind of new modern football that we need to be playing. So I'm not too worried, and most Interisti aren't worried. I mean, this is a wasted season, no doubt about that. Yeah. But there's already talk of giving the players a short summer holiday, or a shorter summer holiday, and that they will start working with Mancini very, very soon.
Okay.
So only like 3-4 weeks holiday only.
Well, I think a lot of people also made light of the fact that, Mancini came on halfway through the season. He really hasn't had a chance to add the players that he would like to add to this team to make it his.
Exactly. These are still Mazzarri players, and this team is built to, except for January, the players that came in, the entire team is a Mazzarri team, and Mancini doesn't want that. I mean, he said it so clearly in the press conference before the match against Fiorentina when he was very clear. He said that next season I want to be fighting for the Scudetto. And then he was asked, well, how many players do you need to bring in? He said, we will be making changes. So, you can't get much more clear than that. There's going to be what I'm expecting is going to be a very busy summer for Inter. It's going to be a revolution. It wouldn't surprise me if something like 10 players left and 10 players came.
Okay. Before I turn you over to Rob, I have two more questions that are along these lines. Obviously, Inter did make a little bit of a splash in the winter transfer window, adding Lucas Podolski and Xherdan Shaqiri to the squads. I'd like you to rate the two, individually. Tell me what you think of what they've brought to the table for Inter so far this, since the acquisition.
Podolski has been a flop. There's no denying or hiding that fact. He's been a complete flop. But then again, 600,000 dry loan, as it's known, prestito secco. They just paid 600,000 euros to loan him for 6 months with no obligation to buy or anything like that. So, based on that, if you get a 29-year-old who's the third most prolific goal scorer in German national team history, that's a good deal.
Right.
But there's no denying that Podolski's been a flop. He's yet to score a goal. He hasn't been gelling well in the team at all. When it comes to Shaqiri, this guy gives us hope because he's the kind of fantasista. He's the creative player. He's the kind of player that sells tickets, to bring people to the stand. He's got so much going on for him, and basically he didn't play at Bayern Munich for like a year almost, and he's slowly coming into the team. And I think I would give him some sort of if I were to rate him, I'd say I'd give him a 5.5, 6, and Podolski I had 2, 1. He's basically not contributed with anything since joining.
That's true, and even you would have hoped that maybe he could have contributed in the Europa League, and you're right. You haven't seen anything come out of him lately, and like you said, the best word to describe him is flop. That's for sure. Now looking forward. What do you anticipate Inter doing in this next transfer window coming up in the summer to kind of make this team Mancini's, like we said?
Well, basically, one thing Inter or almost all Interisti should be hoping for is that Sassuolo and Sunderland don't get relegated. Because if they don't get relegated, Sunderland will pay Inter something like 12-13 million euros for Ricky Alvarez. And Sassuolo will have to buy Taider, Stati Taider. So that money will finance the Shaqiri transfer to Bayern Munich. And then also we get rid of these two fringe players who don't have a place in Inter's squad. Also, Bonazzoli will go. 50% of Bonazzoli we've sold to Sampdoria for, I think it was something like 4.5-5 million euros. So that's already done. Then we have then there's the situation with Handanovic where Inter will sit down and talk to him, and if he won't extend, they will sell him in the summer. No doubt about that. There's already talk of replacing him with Peter Cech, who is too good to be sitting on the bench at Stamford Bridge. That is a deal I definitely support, and if Ausilio can pull it off, he's really fantastic. He's brilliant.
Sure.
Peter Cech. Sorry?
Oh, sure, of course.
Yeah. Other than that, I would say that players that could leave, if some team in the Premier League tables 40 million euros for Mauro Icardi, he's gone. There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
Even if Inter extend his contract, if they pay 40 million for Icardi, he's gone. Okay. There's no doubt about that. However, and there's already talk of replacing him with Dybala, Palermo's Dybala.
And they would be able to afford him.
Sorry?
They would be able to afford him if they were able to sell Icardi for $40 million.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But then again, I mean, there is also this dream of playing Dybala and Icardi up front. Irrespective of what, Inter need to buy a striker because in the summer we have Icardi, Palacio, and that's it.
Okay.
You know, we don't have anyone else because Podolski won't be bought. He won't be, so we will need to buy 2 strikers anyway. When it comes to the midfield, the players who I think are in the risk zone are Freddy Guarin, Hernanes, Kuzmanovic. These are players that will be sold, or probably will be sold, or in the risk zone of being sold. If you want to sell Freddy Guarin, now is the time to cash in on him when he's had a half-decent season. He's got some good stats. He scored a couple of goals and assists. Hernanes has been nothing but a flop since joining Inter. You know, there's no other way to describe it. He hasn't been good enough. And he's also reaching, he's not exactly a teenager anymore. So, they need to sacrifice him. They need to sacrifice him. They need to sacrifice Guarin, Kuzmanovic. And then there's a situation with Kovacic as well. I mean, he recently just extended his contract, but, and there's only that many times you can make an excuse for him that, okay, he's had 3 different coaches since he came to Inter. Inter have undergone a giant reconstruction regarding to ownership and blah, blah, blah. But he needs to deliver. And right now, he's not delivering. He's really not in good shape right now or in good form. And Mancini won't play players who aren't in good form and don't do what they ask of him, or don't deliver what he asks of them.
Right. Sure. So
it will be a very busy summer. Depending on what they decide, what strategy they decide to do, there will be a lot of action going on. Personally, I think that Hernanes, Guarin, and Handanovic will leave, and Icardi and Kovacic will stay, but we will buy one more striker to go straight into the starting 11, and also central defenders, because I think that there's talk of Vidic leaving because him and Mancini aren't getting along. Mm-hmm. Juan Jesus hasn't made anyone happy. Andreoli doesn't want to stay. Ranocchio has been absolutely dreadful. So there's a lot of building that needs to be done. However, we've already signed the central defender in Murillo. So we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. All right, yeah. And the thing with the central defenders part of it, there just aren't many of them out there anymore that you can that are reliable of any quality. So I think that's going to be the toughest void to fill for Inter in the summer transfer window, just because there's not many to go around. So I'm going to turn you over to Rob. I know Rob has a few questions for you, so Rob, go ahead.
Yes, hi, Nima. It's nice to have you back on the show. I just want your thoughts regarding a player such as Marcelo Brozovic.
Brozovic, I think, is the type of player that Inter have been missing since Dejan Stankovic, since his heydays. Brozovic he's the perfect two-way midfielder. He's got good feet. He's intelligent. He never gives up. He's very difficult to play against. He's always tough. So, yeah, I mean, my dream midfield for next year, if they can get it to work, for Inter, is Gary Medel, and then Brozovic, Kovacic, and Shaqiri in front.
Okay. Who would you rather see leave, Kovacic or Icardi, and why?
Look, the most, my colleague, there's a colleague of mine, it's sempreinter.com, Siawish Falai, who always says something that's very true. And that's that the most difficult thing to replace in a football team is a guy who gets you goals. And Mauro Icardi guarantees you goals. However, I agree with that, but to a certain extent, because I think the most difficult player you can find in football, even more than the person who scores goals, is the person who supplies them with the goals. Then the classic number 10, the regista, whatever you want to call it. Kovacic, for me, has so much talent that if you can get him to work, we're talking a possible Ballon d'Or winner here. And Icardi, yeah, he's an assassin. I mean, just look at his stats; it's ridiculous. He scores something like every 1.8 touch of the ball. It's ridiculous. But having said that, you can replace strikers with strikers. I mean, you can get goal scorers. Maybe you'll have to get two to divide the goals apart, between them. But so, I mean, I'd rather hang on to Kovacic and cash in on Icardi if somebody, tables a ridiculous offer like 30, 40 million. But other than that, no. I mean, I wouldn't sell. I want to keep both of them because I think that together they can work wonders.
Who do you believe would be the ideal replacement for Handanovic if he does decide to leave? Do you think Petr Cech is the right one?
Petr Cech is perfect, absolutely perfect. Petr Cech would be the absolutely perfect replacement for him on all levels because he's a similar kind of goalkeeper to Handanovic. He's tall, he's strong in the air. They play very similarly. He owns his penalty area, commands the area. They're very similar, I'd say, in style. So I'd definitely say Petr Cech.
How do you feel about Ranocchia's inclusion into the Italian national team so far, given his abysmal performances?
But the thing is, though, that Ranocchia, when he's surrounded by Bonucci, I mean, they already were back in Bari when they played together under Conte there. They were fantastic, Ranocchia and Bonucci. And now, when they play together again, with under Conte, Ranocchia just transforms into this fantastic player. We saw it against England in the friendly now. I thought he was brilliant. But something about him that he shouldn't be a captain at Inter anyway. For Italy, because he's surrounded by players that he's played with and know that, he relaxes, he feels secure. At Inter, he's supposed to be the leader, and he's anything but a world-class defender at Inter.
I guess leading up to my next question, who do you feel would be the correct captain at Inter if it's not Ranocchia?
Santon. Because Santon or Davide Santon, because he grew up at the club. He's been really, really good at this season. Most people, were like, oh, well, he's a mediocre player, blah, blah, blah. But no, I think Davide Santon is the natural choice after Ranocchia because he's grown up at the club. He knows the club very well. He's back. He's been doing good. And I think that he's the kind of person he's mature enough that he would kind of lead by example. And that's the kind of captain that Inter need or have always had, from Giuseppe Bergomi to Javier Zanetti to Giacinto Facchetti. They were never the kind of players who barked out instructions. They led by example. And Santon could be that kind of a player.
Have you been surprised given Dani Osvaldo's performances at Boca Juniors? And do you feel that Inter have missed out on what could have been a reliable strike partner for Mauro Icardi?
Well, I mean, no one has ever put up for discussion or questioned the ability of Dani Osvaldo, or his ability, his talent is not for debate. However, his mentality is. I mean, everywhere he's been, from Fiorentina to Roma to Inter to, he wanted to fight Icardi on live TV after the Juventus game. Okay, that's why they sold him. He insulted everyone and their mothers basically because Icardi didn't pass him the ball. That just shows you what kind of a volatile person he is. So no, I'm not surprised at all that he's doing well over there. But and not at all, absolutely not. His talent is, he's a fantastic player. But his it's in baseball they say $1 million arm, but a nickel for a head, and that's kind of that's how I would describe Osvaldo.
Okay, and just my last question before I pass it over to Joe. How, I guess, in your opinion, how world class do you feel Paulo Dybala is, and how world class may he be in the future, given whatever club he goes to?
Dybala is the kind of player that will definitely be he will be one of the best strikers in the world in just a few years, and he will be for a long time, just like Icardi. I think the reason, I think together with Icardi they would be magical. They would complete each other, in the way they play, and they would kind of raise the level of each other's game if they played together. But Dybala, he's really good. I mean, he's not an assassin in the same way that Icardi is. He's more of a complete football player than Icardi. When you just by looking at him at face value. But Icardi has something more. because Icardi's still developing, and obviously Dybala will still develop. But no, I think Dybala, if he can stay injury free, I think him and Icardi will be the duo up front for Argentina for quite some more time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Nima. I'm gonna pass it over to Joe.
Thanks, Rob. Nima, I just have another question, and we'll let you go for the night. And again, thank you for coming on and joining us tonight. My question is more of a general Milan question. Taking into account both AC Milan and Inter. Obviously, we're talking about two storied franchises that have had their struggles in recent years. Both currently sitting within a couple of points of each other in 8th and 9th place, probably not going to make any of the European positions for next year. We've talked a little bit at length about what Inter needs to do, in terms of the transfer window. But what kind of changes need to happen first at Inter and then at AC Milan to get both teams back up to that level of prominence that they're so used to?
There's so much that needs to be done. Inter have already started, though, and Milan are a little bit left behind. And this thing with the Chinese, selling to the Chinese, needed to happen a couple of years ago. But now, I'd say that Milan are where Inter were when Tahir took over. Tahir has brought in the right people to fill up the stadiums, or to rebrand and franchise and all this stuff that Inter needed to do. I mean, this and the social media department that they started only 2.5-3 years ago. They've done some incredible work in a very short space of time. What they need to do now, both teams, is the stadium issue. If Milan are going to get their own stadium, Inter need to be able to get the San Siro off the city council and rebuild it and refurbish it so that they can maximize their profits. And also, with corporate hospitality and stuff like that Inter already working with, which Milan haven't been working with in the same way. We'll have to see who buys Milan, first of all, before we can talk about that. But basically a modernization that started happening in England back when the Premier League started in the early 90s. That's what both teams need to do, pretty much. And that's what Roma has done. That's what Juventus has done. And to some extent also Udinese has done. So that has to happen. That's the only way forward.
Right, and obviously, doing that type of stuff will bring in more money, which will allow them to improve themselves overall. But I think you're right with the Milan part of it, where they need the stability of finding out who's going to buy them, and then moving forward, you have to have that path needs to be clear so that teams can concentrate on what they need to do. My last question. We've pretty much already declared the Serie A over, Juventus winning their 4th Scudetto in a row. I don't think there's much debate.
No.
But and we felt at the beginning of the year that this season was a season where Roma was really going to challenge right down to the last game practically, and for some reason fell apart. What do teams need to do to catch Juventus at this point, or is it going to be a 2-year or 3-year project where Juve is just going to win another 2-3 championships before somebody knocks on their door?
Well, Roma really had a chance this year. The problem is that most people, myself included, were looking forward to seeing Rudi Garcia demonstrate that he had the maturity to develop and develop also with Roma and growing with them, in the sense that when it comes to their attack and how they play attacking football, they're fantastic. However, their defense has been so poor, that basically demonstrated by how they were destroyed by Bayern Munich at home. That's something that Roma. That's the reason why Roma fell apart. If you ask me, quality-wise, I don't think that they're that far behind Juve, as the table suggests. So I think that maybe if Roma decide to continue with Garcia for one more year and build on their, and try to solidify and stabilize their defense, I think that already next year. Juventus. I think Juventus will be a weaker team next season, because the football team cycles are 4 or 5 years, and this is Juventus' 4th year. So we'll see. But I think that next season, I don't see Juve dominating next season like they've done this season.
Okay. And as a Juventino, I don't necessarily like to hear that, but
I'm sorry to say that.
But it's got to happen.
Rain on your parade.
Yeah, it's got to happen eventually. I mean, you can't win every Scudetto. It's eventually you've got to lose one, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also, I mean, I think that I remember I was on your show earlier this year, and I said that for me the dark horse for the Champions League was the Juventus, and I'm sticking by that because if Juventus, because I still think that Juventus. And Paris, I just have this feeling that Paris Saint-Germain and Juventus in the final of the Champions League, and where there's kind of like the end, the closing of the circle for Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who's been hunting all over Europe to secure that Champions League, and then Juventus, snub him on the goal line. So I really do think that Juventus. I think Juventus will win the Champions League.
From your mouth to God's ears. So, Nima, molto grazie for coming on tonight, and we hope you feel better, and love to have you back soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on, and I'd love to come back soon.
All right, grazie. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Nima.
Take care, guys.
All right.
Good night.
All right, and that was Nima Tavalley from Gianluca DiMarzio and SemperInter.com. Always super knowledgeable about Inter, and we're glad that he made the extra effort. Obviously, you can hear it in his voice. He didn't sound too good tonight. Been fighting a cold, so I'm glad to have him. Mike, I'll go to you for a reaction as to what Nima said. Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, that Juventus isn't going to be as good next year.
Okay, I'm sure you'd love to hear that. How about you, Rob?
Yeah, always knowledgeable about everything in Italian football, especially on Inter. So it was great to have him on and speak about a lot of things.
Definitely, no doubt about it. So, we've got our next guest coming up in about 20 minutes. So I think we should kind of start ripping through the leagues that we normally do. Starting off with La Liga. So Rob, I don't know if you're ready to run with it or not.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No, let's go with it.
All right. On Friday we had Eibar playing Rayo Vallecano, losing 2-1 to Rayo Vallecano. On Saturday, we had Sevilla 2-0 over Athletic Club Bilbao. Also, we had Atletico Madrid 2-0 over Cordoba. Levante 4-1 over Almeria. Malaga 1-1 over Real Sociedad. On Sunday, we had Valencia drawing Villarreal in a 0-0 draw. Getafe 2-1 over Deportivo La Coruña. A huge win for the extent of how many goals that have been scored in this one.
Yeah.
Granada 1, Real Madrid 9.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's absolutely insane. Great performance from the Real Madrid side. 5 goals from Cristiano Ronaldo, 1 from Bale, and 2 from Benzema. So it's definitely going to be quite a race for that Pichichi.
Oh, yeah.
And it definitely the response Real Madrid needed to have following their El Clasico defeat 2 weeks ago. But however, despite that, Barcelona were able to get the win to maintain the advantage as leaders with a 1-0 victory over Celta Vigo, courtesy of a goal from Jeremy Mathieu, out of all players, to score the winner in the 75th minute. And today we had Espanyol 1-1 over Elche. As we look at the tables, Barcelona still remain first with 71 points. In second, Real Madrid, despite that huge win against Granada, still remains second with 67. In third, Atletico Madrid with 62. In fourth, Valencia with 61. In fifth, Sevilla with 58. In sixth, Villarreal with 50. Eibar are currently 15th now with 28 points, only 3 points from the relegation zone.
And they're going to have a tough fight staying alive in this one to get themselves back into La Liga's Primera Division next season, that's for sure.
Yeah, so it's going to be definitely one until the very end for these guys. And the match ahead will be announced in the week ahead.
Yeah. Did you want to touch on the Valencia-Villarreal match at all that we had predicted last week, even though we got it wrong?
It was a 0-0 result.
It was a 0-0 result. We had predicted Valencia 2-0. I'm kind of surprised that Valencia, wasn't able to win this match at home, especially with the run of form that they had been on lately. And I'm just I'm looking it up here now, if I can find it quickly because they had actually been doing very, very well. Where is it? Valencia here, winners of 4 of their last 6, if you count even the draw in that mix. 4 wins and 2 draws. They've been playing very, very well. So I was kind of surprised that they managed to draw that match over the weekend against Villarreal, who on decent form as well, but just not quite as good. So
yep.
We'll have to see what happens coming up next week, and also in our next segment. So let's head over to France, where we had again, like I had mentioned earlier, we had another El Clasico this weekend, for lack of a better term. Actually, in France, it's Le Classique, which was our match of the week. But let's go into the results that we had from the previous week. We had on Friday, Monaco 1-1 over draw with Saint Etienne. On Saturday, we had Lyon 3-1 over Guingamp to temporarily take back first place in Ligue 1. Then we had Lille 3-1 over Reims, Rennes 3-0 over Lorient, Montpellier 3-1 over Bastia. Nice and Evian played to a 2-2 draw. Metz and Toulouse played. Metz with a 3-2 victory over Toulouse. On Sunday, we had Bordeaux 2-1 over Lens, and what was a heartbreaking loss as well. That was an extra time goal to win it for Bordeaux. Caen 2-1 over Nantes, and then in our game of the week we had Marseille losing at home 3-2 to Paris Saint-Germain. We had actually predicted this one as a 2-1 PSG victory, so we got the result right, and we got the +2, +5, as Ben would always like to refer to. Statistics and information in this one: Andre Pierre Gignac opening the scoring in the 30th minute, followed up by a goal to tie by Blaise Matuidi in the 35th. Gignac again just before the close of the half on the 43rd minute to make it 2-1 Marseille. Then coming out in the second half, we had Marquinhos tied up in the 49th minute, and then a Jeremy Morel own goal with Zlatan Ibrahimovic on his back to give PSG the 3-2 victory overall in this one. Shots on this one were 17-14 in favor of Marseille. Shots on goal were 7-4 in favor of PSG, and PSG held the edge on possession 54-46. But this was certainly a very high-flying and exciting match to watch if you had the chance to see it over the weekend. So let's head into the Ligue 1 tables and goal scorers at the moment. We have PSG leading the way currently, turning this into just a 2-team race at this point, leading the way with 62 points after 31 matches played. Lyon in second place, 1 point behind on 61 points. Marseille in third on 57 points and have faded a little bit in recent weeks. Monaco in fourth on 54 points. Saint Etienne on 53 points, just outside the European positions. We have Bordeaux in 6th place on 51 points. Montpellier in 7th on 48. Lille in 8th place on 44 points. Rennes in 9th on 42. And rounding out the top 10 is Nantes on 40 points. Propping up the bottom of the table, we have RC Lens leading the bottom of the table on 25 points. Metz on 26. And Toulouse rounding out the relegation zone on 32 points. Just outside, Lorient on 34, Reims on 35, Evian in 15th place on 36 points, Bastia in 14th on 37, 2 teams tied at 38 points, including Caen and Nice, and rounding out the bottom 10 is Guingamp on 39 points. Leading goal scorers so far in Ligue 1 is still Alexander Lacazette, running away with the goal-scoring title in this one, 24 goals on the season. Pierre-Andre Gignac adding 2 goals this weekend to bring his total to 18, but still 6 goals short of Lacazette. Ibrahimovic on 17 goals. Fekir from Lyon on 12 goals. Beauvau from Guingamp on 12. Yedder, Barrios, and Roland on 11. Max Gradel on 10 goals in 9th place. And Jordan Ayew of Lorient on 9 goals, currently in 10th place in the league. And we'll be bringing you the featured matchup at the end of the show. So, Rob, I'm going to throw it back over to you for the Bundesliga.
Yep. In the Bundesliga, we had on Saturday, Mainz a 0-0 draw over Werder Bremen. Eintracht Frankfurt 2-2 draw over Hannover 96. Freiburg 1-0 over FC Cologne. We had Bayer Leverkusen 4-0 over Hamburg. Wolfsburg 3-1 over Stuttgart. And in the match of the week was Borussia Dortmund losing 1-0 to Bayern Munich by a goal from none other than Robert Lewandowski against his former team. I don't remember if any of you guys saw the game or saw the goal, but
I saw both.
Did he celebrate?
No. No, he didn't.
Okay.
He was quiet about it. I was surprised more so from the reaction that Mario Götze got when he was brought onto the pitch in the second half as a substitute. There was some sheer hatred there from those Dortmund fans. I've got to tell you, it was. I didn't expect. I expected them not to be happy with him. I didn't expect that level of what I felt like was hatred. It was pretty aggressive.
Well, let me ask you this: do you think Borussia Dortmund fans are more angry at Lewandowski or Götze?
I think they're more angry at Götze
because he's been there since as a kid.
Yeah, and when you think about it, he's still a kid.
Yeah,
he's still a young guy, and could certainly, Dortmund, a team like Dortmund, could certainly use Mario Götze on the pitch right now. They need something other than Marco Reus, who's been really carrying the load for them. So I think fans are genuinely mad that he left.
Yeah. Just reading his information, he joined Dortmund when he was 9, left Borussia Dortmund at 22 to go to his bitter rivals.
Yeah, which is crazy. And again, this is, we talked about Le Classique, El Clasico. This was the German Classic this weekend. So this Dortmund Munich matchup. So
on Sunday we had Augsburg 0-0 over Schalke, and Hertha Berlin 2-0 over Paderborn. As we round up the table, we have Bayern Munich still in first place and looking to secure the league, basically, with 67 points. In second, Wolfsburg, 10 points behind with 57. In third, Borussia Mönchengladbach with 50. In fourth, Bayer Leverkusen with 48. In fifth, Schalke with 40. In sixth, Augsburg with 39. And Borussia Dortmund in 10th with 33 points.
All right.
And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, just... And wrapping up for the match of the week will be in the week ahead.
You bet. You want to do goal scorers?
Yeah, absolutely. We have Alexander Meyer still top of the Bundesliga top goal scorer with 19 goals. Second, Iron Robin with 17. Lewandowski goes up to 14th, passing Bastos, who is in fourth with 13, and Thomas Muller with 12.
Excellent. So, all right, let's head over to the Serie A that we were talking about with Nima. Just a few seconds ago. Let me get my scores loaded up here and ready to roll. So and all these matches were played on Saturday because of the Easter weekend. We had Roma with a 1-0 victory over Napoli. Napoli currently fading fast at this point, and sitting outside the European positions at the moment. Inter 1-1 draw with Parma. A neat little fact that Nima gave us earlier. Of Parma's 10 points, 4 of them were earned against Inter, which is pretty embarrassing. Going on, Lazio 3-1 over Cagliari. Lazio is currently the hottest team in the Serie A, even hotter than Juventus at the moment. Palermo losing at home 2-1 to AC Milan. Torino 2-1 over Atalanta. Genoa and Udinese played to a 1-1 draw. Verona and Cesena played to a 3-3 draw. Sassuolo 1-0 over Chievo. Fiorentina 2-0 over Sampdoria, and that was our match of the week that we'll talk about in a second. And to close out Saturday, Juventus 2-0 over Empoli. Just going to go into the statistical information of the Fiorentina-Sampdoria matchup that we had this weekend. Again, like we had mentioned earlier, it was a 2-0 victory for Fiorentina in this one. Our prediction, I'm just going to go back and look at it quickly, was a 2-1 Fiorentina victory in this one. So we had the right winner, but the wrong over-under on the score. Alessandro Diamante in the 61st minute scoring to open the scoring, and Mohamed Salah adding one 3 minutes later to close it out for Fiorentina. Statistics in this one: shots were 20-9 in favor of Fiorentina. Shots on goal were 5-0 in favor of Fiorentina as well. Fiorentina also hit the post, and they held 63% of the possession in this one. So certainly in the driver's seat. And we've talked about Fiorentina recently being one of the top teams in the league at the moment. At the rate that they're going. Certainly challenging for the top of the table, although, like we've said earlier, this is done and dusted. So let's go through the done and dusted table as we had discussed earlier. Juventus leading the way, 70 points after 29 matches. Roma 14 points back on 56 points, with hard-charging Lazio right behind them on 55 points. Fiorentina in fourth on 49, Sampdoria on 48 points, and just outside the European positions, as we had said earlier, in sixth place, Napoli on 47. Torino in seventh place on 42 points, AC Milan on 41, Inter on 38, and rounding out the top 10, also Genoa on 38 points. propping up the bottom of the table, we have Parma on 10 points with 2 matches at hand. Cagliari on 21 points and Cesena on 22 points, rounding out the relegation trio. Atalanta just outside the zone on 26 points. Chievo on 32 points. Verona on 33 points. Empoli on 33 points. Udinese on 34. Sassuolo in 12th on 35. And rounding out the bottom 10, Palermo also on 35 points. Leading the way in the Pichichi race, Carlos Tevez at the moment with 17 goals. Jeremy Menez in second on 16. Mauro Icardi on 15 goals. Luca Toni on 15 goals. Gonzalo Higuain on 13. Paulo Dybala that we talked about earlier on 13 goals as well. Fabio Quagliarella on 11 goals. Antonio Di Natale in 8th place on 10 goals. And Miroslav Klose and Anderson at Lazio both sharing 9th place with 9 goals each. Our match of the week will be coming up momentarily. Mike, I'm going to throw it over to you. We have the Premier League. I know we have Tony Meola calling in about 5 minutes or so, and I didn't know if you wanted to start the EPL.
I'll finish it in 5 minutes.
Fair enough. Go ahead and fire away.
Okay, I'll leave the first game because that was our highlighted game of the week. Everton beat Southampton 1-0 on Captain Phil Jagielka's solitary goal. Other than that, it wasn't much of a game. It's the first back-to-back wins in the top flight this season, and actually in almost a year for Everton. Rock-bottom Leicester's Premier League survival bid received a much-needed shot in the arm as a late goal from substitute Andy King steered them to a 2-1 home victory over West Ham. Manchester United climbed into third position thanks to a 3-1 win over Aston Villa, which included a stunning strike from Wayne Rooney. Once again, the final, Manchester United 3, Aston Villa 1. Hull failed to ease their relegation fears as Swansea closed in on their best ever Premier League points total with a 3-1 victory at the Liberty Stadium. Swansea now have 46 points, just one short of their best total under Brendan Rodgers in the 2011-12 season. Swansea 3, Hull 1. QPR grabbed a survival lifeline with a stunning 4-1 win at 10-man West Brom, only their second away victory of the season. Vargas Austin and a fabulous Bobby Zamora lob put the Rangers up 3-0 at halftime before Joey Parton's stoppage time strike. West Brom 1, QPR 4. Chelsea responded from conceding a Charlie Adam goal from his own half and losing Diego Costa to a hamstring injury to beat Stoke 2-1 and move 7 points clear in the title race. Harry Kane's first outing as captain of Tottenham failed to inspire the Spurs in an insipid 0-0 draw at Burnley. Jermaine Defoe's stunning volley handed Sunderland a record 5th successive derby victory over Newcastle and eased their Premier League relegation fears. The 32-year-old, the Black Cats' big money January signing thundered home the sweetest of all strikes in first half stoppage time, and the goal proved all important in a match Sunderland dominated. Sunderland won, Newcastle 0. And in the game from this evening or this afternoon here, Manchester City's grip on the Premier League title was loosened further after a controversial Glenn Murray goal put Crystal Palace on the way to a 2-1 victory. The fading champions pulled one back through Yaya Toure, but are now 9 points adrift of the leaders Chelsea, having slipped to 4th place following wins for Arsenal and Manchester United at the Easter weekend. And in our match of the week, it was Arsenal 4, Liverpool 1. Arsenal kept the pressure at the top of the Premier League as Liverpool were blown away 4-1 at the Emirates. Bellerin, Ozil, Sanchez, and Oliver Giroud for Arsenal. Jordan Henderson with a 76th minute penalty with the lone Liverpool goal. Arsenal had 16 shots, 10 on target to 13 shots for Liverpool, with just 2 on target. Possession was 49% for Arsenal, 51% for Liverpool. Arsenal had 1 yellow card. Liverpool had no yellow cards. And, yeah, it was pretty much a dominating performance for Arsenal. Did either of you see that game?
Rob,
I did.
I was to say I did as well. Rob, why don't you go ahead first?
Yeah, it was just absolutely dominating for Arsenal against Liverpool. It was just free, I guess you could say, one-way traffic.
Yeah, I would agree with that, definitely. I was surprised you got such a great game out of Mesut Ozil. I didn't expect to see him play that well. The free kick that he took was stunning. I'm sure you got to see that. But had himself a decent game for once. And, Giroud, for everything that everybody says to knock Olivier Giroud, he continues to score goals.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to stop scoring now.
Yeah, I mean, what is he? I think is he second or third in the league right now in scoring?
Fifth.
Okay, I didn't even think he was that far down, but
he missed the first month of the season though.
Exactly. Yeah, wasn't it you that tweeted that this weekend? I think, or I did see a tweet about that. Like he was like 4 goals behind Diego Costa, but he missed the first 3 months of the season.
Right.
So,
okay. A quick look at the table. Sorry, Joe has Chelsea on top with 70. Arsenal in second now with 63 points, followed by Manchester. Wait for it. United on 62 points. Manchester City in fourth on 61 points, and followed in fifth and sixth by Liverpool, tied on points, separated on goal difference. Liverpool in fifth, Tottenham in sixth. At the bottom of the table, in 20th is Leicester on 22 points, followed or just ahead of them is Queen's Park on 25 points, and Burnley on 28 points. And just outside the relegation zone in 17th is Aston Villa on 28 points. And in 16th, we have Hull City on 28 points. And the goal scorers, which we just alluded to, is Diego Costa of Chelsea with 19, tied with Harry Kane.
Because joining us right now on Low Limit Football is one of America's greatest goaltenders, Tony Meola. Tony, how are you tonight? It's Joe Usello.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Good,
Thanks for having me, man.
No, thank you for coming on. First of all, how did Counterattack go tonight?
Good. Anytime we know we got people listening and calling in, it's always good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm going to start you off with the first question. It's kind of a joke question, but there's a method to my madness.
Okay.
My first question to you is: who's the greatest soccer player to ever come out of New Jersey?
I'm going to have to go with a 3-way tie here. I got to go Ramos, Hart, and Reyna.
Wow. Okay. I when you said 3-way tie, I thought you were going to say Reyna, Meola, and Giuseppe Rossi.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even think of Giuseppe Rossi. Maybe I got. I'm gonna stick with those 3 though for now.
Fair enough. And again, the method to my madness is: I know a few weeks ago here on this show. Actually, it's been longer than a few weeks ago. It was when Landon Donovan announced his retirement, and people were waxing poetic about him being the greatest American footballer of all time. I didn't necessarily disagree with with that assumption or that interpretation of it, but I personally thought that Claudio Reyna is a much closer second place than many people want to give Claudio credit for. Now, you've had the pleasure and the luxury of playing with both players. I'd like your thoughts on both players from your perspective.
Well, I'd have to throw Tab Ramos in that conversation because I still don't think that, and you know what, it's really hard to say someone's first or second or third,
Sure.
But the one type of player we haven't been able to develop in this country has been another Tab Ramos, somebody who can take you on, someone who was as smooth with his right foot as anyone, and probably the most skilled player with one foot that we've ever produced. Can take you on whether he was standing in front of you and slowed you down, which is what he loved to do, get you to stand still, and then he'd really take you one way or the other. And he could do it in so many different ways. Get down the line, hit crosses in. He got on the end of things. We still have never produced a player like that. Landon, for me, was the best in big moments.
Mm-hmm.
He had more big moments in a U.S. jersey than anybody. And certainly Claudio was as technical a player in the middle of the field that we have. So all different types of players for me, but I think the one we haven't been able to find since he's no longer with the national team is a Tab Ramos type of player.
Okay. I'm gonna take you off the U.S. men's national team just for a moment, and after I pass you around to my co-host, I'm gonna come back to the men's national team. I do want to go back to your childhood, and one of the goaltenders that you idolized, according to all reports, and that is a goalie that I remember first as a child, and that's Dino Zoff. I'd like your thoughts on Dino Zoff, and is Gigi Buffon the best comparison for Italian goaltenders, or is Buffon even better than Zoff ever was?
Well, again, two different goalkeepers. Dino Zoff, I was built like Dino Zoff and had the pleasure of playing against him when he was his team, when he was the coach of Juventus, and I sat with him and was able to talk to him for pretty much 3 or 4 different occasions during the week. We were out in LA together. Saw him in Italy when I was there one time with the national team. Gigi Buffon was obviously a longer goalkeeper, came in a different era, different time. Gigi Buffon is one that people will remember. They both won World Cups. I would think most people these days would put Buffon in front of Dino Zoff. Look, Dino Zoff we credit with single-handedly changing the goalkeeper rule with the pass back and the number of steps that you were able to take in a box at one point, and how the position was interpreted, right? He took, 46 or 48 steps during the World Cup in 1982, and he used to be able to bounce it and roll it around the box. I can't imagine being able to do that, because I feel like if my team ever went up 1-0, that game would be over the next time I touched the ball. But it's so hard to compare players, especially to compare them in different eras. That's the most difficult thing, because people compare Ronaldo and Messi now, but they're playing in the same era, so you can compare apples to apples. Right. The game has changed so much over the years. Sometimes it makes it difficult.
Yeah, I mean, even traditionally, even in this country, we talk about baseball players, and you compare like Babe Ruth to like Derek Jeter, and it's so hard to compare players from different eras. Even let's say going from Pele to Messi. It's so hard to do it because the game was so different between the two timelines. But it's the other thing that I always talk about is that we're comparing greatness. So if you're first or you're second on this list, you're still an all-time great. It's just fun that we get to sit here and we get to turn on the microphone and we get to just talk about it for a little while and just debate it back and forth. So it's just a neat little experiment that we like to go through. So I'm going to throw you over to my first co-host, Mike Orr. I know Mike has a bunch of questions for you, and then when they ever send you back to me, I'll revisit the men's national team. So Mike, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, Tony. First of all, let me say it's an honor to interview you tonight. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Yeah, no problem.
I guess the first thing I want to ask you is, you've been retired for a few years now. When you look back on your career these days, what was your most memorable moment? And I guess where does your tryout for a place kicker with the New York Jets fit into those memories?
Yeah, so for sure I would have to say the most memorable moment was qualifying for the 1990 World Cup, because it was a group of players that dedicated so much time, put so much energy into it, with Bob Gansler as our coach. We hadn't been to the World Cup for 40 years. We all knew it. We all felt it. And we were determined to make a change in that. And now we sort of, when you talk about the U.S. qualifying for the World Cup, I would imagine that most people listening are the same way as I am. With that regard, is that we expect our national team every 4 years to be in the World Cup. We know it's a difficult process to qualify and all of that stuff, and there's a hiccup here and there. This year, the first Hex game in Honduras. There's hiccups along the way and speed bumps you got to get over. But ultimately, we expect them to qualify. That wasn't the case back in '89, and I think that's what makes that achievement, so memorable for sure, because I know what that group went through. I know what they were feeling. I know the lack of training facilities and just looking at what we have now, and I'm lucky to coach with the youth national team. We would have been over the moon to have what our youth national teams have now. Forget about what the men's team has. So that's probably the top. With regards to kicking with the Jets, look, it was. I'm one of those guys. Anyone that's followed me, I didn't want to say. I don't want to say 20 years from now I should have when I had an opportunity. right? And I had an opportunity there. It said for years I wanted to do it. I was waiting for the league to start in 1995. The league ended up, if you remember back, January of 1995, announcing that they were going to take another year in order to start Major League Soccer. So, it came in that time period, but it's certainly a memorable moment for me.
Yeah, it must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Look, it's something I did as a kid. Something I think you see soccer players doing all across the college ranks now. But the game has changed now, and the time commitment has changed now. And not that we didn't do all of that stuff. It's just it's completely different. But again, it's something I can always say. I don't have to sit when I'm 80 years old. Hopefully, I get to that point and say, I should have did it when I had the chance. I had the chance. I took it, just like I took other chances in my life to take the opportunity to do things.
Well, that's a good segue into my next question. Then I know you were a two-sport athlete in college, where you also played baseball. What was that experience like? And it must have been very difficult, no?
It was very difficult. I played at the University of Virginia. I was a dual scholarship athlete. Half my scholarship was baseball, half of it was soccer. I never thought soccer was going to be the number one sport. It was never. I always thought it was going to be baseball. And then all of a sudden, we qualified for that World Cup while I was at the University of Virginia, and had the opportunity to go train at Sheffield Wednesday with John Harkes at the time. Kind of just took advantage of it, and always thought I'd go back to school. Never went back to school, but now I'm lucky enough. My son will go to the University of Virginia next year, so I'll get to go down. I've been going down for years to watch games, but I'll get to go down and watch him play and make sure he finishes school.
Outstanding, and best of luck to him. I guess I wanted to ask you about your stints over in England when you played with Brighton and Hove Albion and Watford. And do you wish you would have stayed in England longer, or was there a reason you came back to the United States?
Yeah, there was a reason for sure. I just the work permit situation was terrible, completely different. If it were me while I was playing, if I was playing now, I would have had no problem getting a work permit. But when I signed at Brighton, it was a week-to-week contract, and I went over there with Sunil Gulati. He helped me work out with the government to get a week-to-week work permit. And literally, we'd play on the weekend, and on Mondays, I'd have to go. Sunil left after 2 or 3 weeks of doing this with me, and I'd have to go to the embassy, and I would have to reapply, and they would literally ask me, "Did you play this weekend?" And I'm thinking to myself, well, I played this weekend, right? Because the entire town knows, they were all there. And they'd say, "Okay, you're renewed till next Sunday night or next Monday night," whatever it was. And I went through this for months, and month after month after month. So what ended up happening, we played against Watford at Watford, and Elton John at the time was still an owner at the club, and he really, I guess, wanted an American player there, and I made sense there, so I signed at Watford. But then I was again going to London every Monday morning with the same thing. Finally, we went away with the national team. We went to Portugal to play Portugal. It was actually Ernie Stewart's first trip with the national team. And when I came back, I said enough was enough. I had this opportunity to go to Toulouse in France. So I went to Toulouse in France and got out of England at the time. I don't regret not having stayed there. There's part of me that says, yeah, you should have stayed, but look, it was completely different back then, and we actually made more money in the U.S. than we did playing over there, and that was a determining factor, as it would be for people, and we're seeing that now as guys come back to the league, but that's just how it went. I mean, it's a really frustrating time because I was playing every week finally, and I was dealing with this work permit situation, and I finally had enough. After 4 months of it every week, I was done.
Was it easier to get your permit renewed if you had a clean sheet?
No, I don't really think they cared. And 2 times, by the way, I must say, 2 times I came back from international duty, and they kept me in the airport. And the last time was the trip to Portugal. They kept me in the airport to check out my work permit. Look, at the time they didn't want Americans there. Period. But I stayed in the airport in customs till like 4 o'clock in the morning the night I returned from Portugal. And, it was really ridiculous. This stuff doesn't happen now. But that was really the straw that broke the camel's back, was that one. And I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. It's really not worth it for me. It was far too much to go through for anybody. Now it would be a piece of cake with the number of games I played with the national team, the percentage I played, it would be a no-brainer, but then it certainly wasn't.
Yeah, that sounds really frustrating. Again, thanks a lot for coming on. I would like to ask you one more thing before you leave. Before I hand you over to Rob, sorry, about the American soccer player rankings that came out in April, and I compared them to the ones from February, and there was 3 players that were left off the list and 3 players that were added in the newest list. So I'm just wondering what your opinion are on the 3 players that are left off and where they still fit in the national team. The 3 players were Jermaine Jones was left off of the top 25, Will Trapp, and Aaron Johansson. And I'm just wondering if you still see them fitting into the American men's team.
So these you said Jones, Will Trapp, and Johansson were not in the top. I've never seen this list, so I'm trying to figure out that they were in a list. 25.
I'm sorry. They were in the list in February on the top 25, and the newest list from April, they're not included. And maybe I should tell you the 3. Sorry, maybe I should tell you the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, the 3 that were included.
Okay, was Jose Villarreal, Charlie Davies, and Zardes.
Jesse Zardes.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is one person or a committee's opinion, and when you play, you're subject to a million different opinions, and the one that matters is your own. Do I think personally that it's hard to compare these guys? You look at this and you talk about a Will Trapp, who I think is an exceptional young player, compared to a Jermaine Jones or Johansson, who have been in a World Cup. It's almost a little bit unfair at this particular point. Will Trapp has never been in with a national team. Heard an interview on our station last week where he talked about the fact that he hasn't even had a discussion about going into the national team. So these are all opinions. It's will he be there? I think he will be one day. I think he's a crafty player, but Jermaine Jones, Johansson, they have World Cup experience. Zardes is obviously a guy now that we're starting to lean on a little bit more as a nation, and I think we need to give time to continue to grow. Charlie Davies, I don't know if he'll get back to the national team, but his recovery is, from what he's been through, is just nothing short of a miracle. And I don't remember who the other guy was, but
it was Jose Villarreal.
Okay, another young player who we're still trying to get to a point where he becomes a steady professional first at the club level. He's been through the system, so he understands the system, and I'm sure would be flattered to be on the list before Jermaine Jones. But I would think, even him in his right mind would think Jermaine Jones will be with the national team before he will at this particular point.
And I guess one player that wasn't on the list that has definitely impressed me in the last couple of years was Perry Kitchen. And what do you think about him?
Yeah, another good player. Has obviously been a fixture for DC United and has them at the top of the table again. He's been a really important player. I think eventually, look, this is a weird time for Jurgen because he's got the Gold Cup coming up, and I don't know that we'll see too many changes to the national team roster. There'll be more omissions, I would think, now than there are additions to this roster. Of course, the one wild card is we never know who Jurgen's going to find overseas that comes in, and has an American passport, because it seems like we're looking all the time. But that part you can never really tell for when that's going to happen. But he's a kid, I would think, that's on their radar. I haven't heard much about him from the inside, but as far as the national team is concerned, but certainly someone I would think that they're looking at. I happen to like him quite a bit.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tony. It was a real honor to interview you tonight, and I'm going to hand you over to my other co-host, Rob Rose. Thanks again.
Okay, you got it, man. Take care.
Hi, Tony. What's up? Nice to have you on the show. My first question to you is, what do you feel? How do you feel having played in both the '90 and '94 World Cup has affected you as a player, and what can you compare both of them as for you personally as a player and in the national team?
Yeah, I mean, how do I feel? Obviously, it's an honor. It was an honor, just as it was an honor to be part of the 2002 World Cup. You look at the number of people that get to do it, and I still look at the number of people who get to captain their country. And I had the opportunity to do that at home to two places in the world that I would have, if I had to pick to play in World Cups. The first two would be the U.S. for obvious reasons and Italy for other obvious reasons. And I look at it and say maybe in '90 we used it as a warm up and a real lesson, and in '94 we were able to capitalize a little bit on that and go a little bit further and hopefully set a standard that getting to the second round of the World Cup is where we need to be all the time. So when I was going through it, I shouldn't speak for anybody else. When I was going through it, I didn't think of anything else. It was sort of that time in my life, it was full steam ahead, and I was one of those kids. I was a Jersey kid. I didn't care what anybody had to say. I was going to make this World Cup team, and that was it. That nothing was going to get in my way. So I didn't think about what I would feel, 20 years down the road, or I was just trying to do what I knew best, and that was trying to make a national team and get to a World Cup.
Okay. In a country where goalkeepers seem to have, the best success in regards to, where you could say the best players that are made on this national team are goalkeepers, how do they feel to play, or train alongside Casey Keller and Brad Friedel during the '90s and 2000s?
Yeah, I mean, they were teammates and we were competitors, and in one World Cup, Casey was my backup, and another World Cup I was his, and Brad was the backup in '94, and those guys made me better, and I hope at some level that I made those guys better. And I've read things that have said that was the case, and that's all you can hope to do in that position. Unfortunately, it's a position where one guy gets to play on the national team, and it's something that you go in every day, you work hard, you fight, you scratch, you claw, and you move on from there. So, hopefully, I would think, they thought I was as good a teammate to them as I thought that they were to me.
Who do you see being the potential, successor for Tim Howard in the 2018 World Cup? Do you see players like Bill Hamid, Brad Guzan, or even this new player, William Yarbrough? What do you think of those three specifically?
Well, I can't say I know much about Yarbrough. Only seen him play 45 minutes, and I don't get to see much of Liga MX. Guzan obviously has done, great things, obviously, with Aston Villa. Hamid, had another great weekend. I like the kid, Houston Tyler Derrick. He made one mistake this year that everybody makes against Orlando. Ended up costing him a goal in a game. But if it's not for Tyler Derrick, I don't know that Houston really gets any points this year so far. He's the one guy in the league. Shuttleworth has been good. I mean, there's a lot of solid goalkeepers. I'm curious when some of these guys are going to get a chance with the national team. And I shouldn't fail to mention Nick Raimondo. For years has been there. But look, Nick is 35 years old now, and I don't know that they're going to take two goalkeepers if Tim Howard does go to the 2018 World Cup that are at that 36, 37-year-old age. So I'd like eventually to see some of those guys get an opportunity.
Okay. How big an effect do you think the 94 World Cup had with U.S. soccer in general moving into the future 21 years later?
Yeah, it was a springboard. It was a springboard for fans. It was a springboard for launching Major League Soccer. That's where the fun came from initially. It was so important to unveil the sport in our country, and still the most attended World Cup ever. So we broke all kinds of records before we were, quote unquote, a soccer country. So every time I hear about things, this is where we need to go, this is what we need to do, it kills me because some of these places we've already been before. I want to go in different places. So that's kind of what, that's kind of what I look at when I look at progression with the national team.
And that leads me up to my final question. What do you believe has to be done for this United States national team to progress to, say, the final of a World Cup or even win it in a couple of years?
Well, I mean, I keep hearing how far away we are and where Jurgen thinks we need to go. I'd take you back to 2002. We were a kick away against Germany to being in the semifinal of the World Cup. And had we gotten to the semifinal of that, had we gotten through that game against Germany, there could have been nobody that could have argued that we deserved to go through that. It didn't happen. Okay, I get that part. We had an opportunity at least to tie it up with the handball that wasn't called on the line, but we were deservedly in that game, and so when I look at it, I look at that as the standard. We need to get to the quarterfinals where we were again. When you think about the sentence, we were a kick away from being in the semifinals of the World Cup, and at that point, you don't know what can happen. Right. So in a lot of ways, I look at it, and that for me is the benchmark. When are we going to get back to the quarterfinals of the World Cup? That's for me the next step.
Do you know what could be done specifically in regards to like youth academy or certain?
I mean, that's a broad topic. We have all these academies. We did all that without academies, before academies, right? So we should be in a better position. I coach with the youth national teams, and what my evaluation is, the future is really bright. I just did the under 17 World Cup for Fox, qualifying for Fox. I did the under 20s, and Tab's team struggled a little bit in one game, and then the whole tournament changed for him. Then Richie's team had one tie result against the host nation, and then they had to battle and go to penalty kicks. But I look at that 17 team, and they've got some players, and I think we'll do very, very well at the World Cup. I'm looking forward to that happening in October. I'm looking forward to see our 20s compete here end of May, beginning of June, and I think we've got some talent. I look when people talk about it, we talk about these teams. I go back to that under 17 team that Del Piero was on when Italy got to the finals or won the World Cup back in the day. And his 17-year-old, he was the only guy from that team that played in Serie A. So when you look at it, it's not like you're going to have a whole group. The under 17s, 10 years from now or 5, 6 years from now, that's not going to be the national team. It doesn't work that way because there's going to be other guys that come in, guys that leave. But I look at it as a whole, and I think that we're certainly going in the right direction.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm going to pass it over to Joe.
All right. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Rob. Tony, I have one more question before we let you go, and I wanted to bring it back to the U.S. men's national team. Obviously, we've got a big game coming up in a couple weeks, and I know it's a friendly, but I don't think you can ever title a matchup against Mexico a friendly. And it is always certainly a big match, no matter what team you're putting on the pitch. Given the struggles that the men's national team has gone through lately, especially the ability to kind of close out games, we really saw it come back and haunt them against Denmark last week. What are you expecting to see out of the men's national team's performance against Mexico this time around?
It's always, you're right, first of all, it's not just a friendly, right? It's Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at it a little bit different. We always get to this point, and I think these are, as much as we talk about playing, top teams in the world, we can play Mexico and learn an awful lot too, because the games are always so intense. They're, regardless of how either team is playing. If you can remember, a year and a half, 2 years ago, when Mexico really wasn't playing well, anytime they played the U.S., although we had the upper hand, they would be really, really difficult to beat, and they'll look at the U.S. the same way. And of course, they've got a different motive right now. A new coach came in before the World Cup. They seem to have a different attitude. From our U.S. team, is just the belief that they can go forward and continue to attack. And the late goals, look, we talk about them all the time. I heard Jurgen on his interview with Taylor Twellman yesterday on ESPN say it's not a concern to him. If he's not concerned, then it's hard for me to be concerned. So if he sees something internally in those games, you make an awful lot of changes, which is really difficult. Always contributes to that a little bit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be, if you remember, a couple years ago, we couldn't get away from giving up a goal in the first 10 minutes of a game. Now we can't get away from giving up a goal in the last 10 minutes of a game. So it's hopefully not an epidemic, and hopefully it doesn't happen against Mexico, because, again, we probably don't look at it as a pure friendly when we play Mexico.
Yeah. Well, I just as a someone who's played soccer for 30 years, for me, when I see this happening with the men's national team at the end of these matches, you almost want to talk about their ability to focus, to run that ball over the line and finish things out and close things out, and how to close a match. We see it time and time again at the professional level, where a lot of these players and some of these teams, they just don't seem to know how to close a match out. Do you think it's a skill that this particular group at this time is lacking? Can they learn something like that, or do you think it's something different?
Well, I look at the last one as a little bit different, because it comes off a restart, and it is a lack of focus against Switzerland. But it's still, for me, a little bit didn't come as a run of play where they got disorganized tactically. And but for sure, look, you got to talk about it. The players hear it all the time, and Jurgen's obviously spoken about it with them. He said he spoke to them about it. He wanted to close games. It's not a lack of effort. It's not any of that stuff. It just hasn't gone well for them the last 10 minutes of games. I think I saw some crazy stat what our record would have been if the games were 75 minutes long. So we'd have been one of the best in the world. So,
right.
But look, it is those are exhibitions now. I think the focus starts to become Gold Cup, preparing for that, making sure you're sharp for that turn, because this Gold Cup actually means a lot this time around. If we win it, automatic qualifying into Copa America next year, 2016. That'll be here. If not, you got to play a playoff against Mexico, or I should say, whoever wins it. Right? I shouldn't just give it to Mexico, because there are some other capable teams as well. So people will be looking to compete in this Gold Cup, probably a little bit different than they did in the last Gold Cup.
Okay. Last question, and then we'll let you go. And it's back to Jurgen Klinsmann, and this is coming off the heels of a discussion at the Easter dinner table that my brother and I were having. My brother feels that the luster of Jurgen Klinsmann has kind of lost its Jurgen has lost his luster. The flower's lost its bloom. Do you feel that people are starting to look at Klinsmann and maybe saying, hey, maybe you're not the right person? I mean, I personally don't feel that way, But do you feel that you're starting to see rumblings or hear rumblings of people saying maybe Klinsmann's not the right way to go and we need to go in a different direction?
Well, people are clearly looking at him that way, especially if your brother's having a conversation,
right?
About it. So, it's people are definitely. You've heard rumblings of that. You've heard people talk about it, and but it's part of being a national team coach, right? When you win, you're great. When you lose, look at Bruce Arena. This is a guy that almost had us in the semifinals, and he was great, and then 4 years later, he was the most useless coach in the world, But I think that's what these guys are used to. But it really doesn't matter unless those guys feel in the locker room that the message is not getting across, and that's when you're concerned. If you think the message isn't getting across to players, you can get a little bit concerned. And we'll say this: there isn't a great history, and this is one of the things we talked about, of second-time managers in the World Cup with the same teams. There's not a great history in the world with it, and that's a little bit concerning. But this is where we're at, and hopefully we'll find something out differently. That this time around it really is a positive for the U.S. team.
Right. Well, good thing it's not Italy, or else he'd have either gotten fired or would have had to have retired at the end of the World Cup. So that's just how they roll.
Or if you were in Russia, you'd have gotten a bigger contract, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Tony.
Yeah. Tony, thank you. It was an honor to have you on the show. I've got my buddy texting me about, he's a goalie talking about talking to a legend. So we really appreciate it. All right. Thanks again. And send our best to John Harkes.
I will do. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. You got it, guys.
And that was Tony Meola. Wow. Talk about having something cool happen. Just to be able to talk to Tony Meola is unbelievable. So I'm really happy that he was able to make it on tonight, and just fantastic. Mike, what are your thoughts of talking to Tony Meola?
Oh, it was really cool. I enjoyed it a lot, and wow, I was a little nervous actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing because we had Jimmy Conrad on, U.S. men's national team player. We had Stephen Caldwell, who was an active player in MLS, but when you talk about the people that we've had on this show that would be quote unquote legendary, I think Tony's name is definitely up on that list. So it's just fantastic, to talk to him. Rob, what were your thoughts on Tony's interview tonight?
Yeah, absolutely, very knowledgeable. Like you said previously, it's obviously an honor to talk to someone who's played in 3 World Cups and become regarded as one of the greatest American players of all time.
Absolutely, and I'm glad I got to open the questioning that way. Who's the best player to come out of New Jersey? So, and I got to tell you, this is how knowledgeable he is. Although it was his teammate, so he should know. But I totally forgot Tab Ramos was from New Jersey. I totally spaced on that. So and now I've got to put a 4th person on that list. But he's right. I mean, I don't think we talk enough about Tab Ramos as a player, especially as one of the cornerstone players for the U.S. men's national team program, leading us to where we are today. He's certainly on that list. He's certainly part of that conversation. And you've got to remember, Tab is going beyond them is because he's the coach of the U20 team right now. So it's, Tab is certainly one of those building blocks of American soccer, that's for sure. So, Mike, I'm going to throw it over to you or back to you because I know we'd cut you off just at the end of the Premier League wrap-up. So if you wouldn't mind running through that again, or at least finishing that one off, and then we'll send you along.
Okay, I was just doing the goal scorer, so I'll start again. Diego Costa is first with 19, tied with Harry Kane. Aguero is in third with 17. Charlie Austin from QPR is fourth in 16, and the aforementioned Olivier Giroud from Arsenal is fifth, with Alexis Sanchez from Arsenal also with 14. The Premier League team of the week was Tim Howard in goal. It was a 3-4-3 lineup. Shackle, Phil Jagielka, and John O'Shea in the back. Herrera and Ernest Cambiasio. Hazard and Charlie Adam, who had that goal from inside his own half. I don't know if you guys seen that.
Yeah, I
you
saw
see?
it.
Oh yeah,
I did.
everybody
It's
saw
the
it.
goal of the season. I imagine it was a little bit of luck for sure, but still, wow.
Yeah, Thibaut Courtois got victimized on that one. That was pretty fantastic.
Yes, and the three players up front were Alexis Sanchez, Bobby Samora, and Jermaine Defoe, who also scored a bit of a wonder strike himself in the Sunderland victory. Moving over to the MLS, is that what we're doing now?
Yeah, no, it's your show.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, right.
For the second consecutive home game, Orlando City SC suffered stoppage time heartbreak as they allowed DC United to steal away 3 points with the latest of goals. Luis Silva was able to grab the win for United, playing his first minutes of the season as a 75th minute sub. Orlando City 0, DC United 1. Chicago Fire designated player Sean Maloney scored his first MLS goal and registered his first MLS assist as the Chicago Fire down the Toronto FC 3-2 in a back-and-forth affair on Saturday afternoon in front of an announced crowd of 13,800 and change at Toyota Park. I'm going to mention the attendance figure for Chicago, as every time there's a USL team that has a higher attendance than Chicago, and there was 2 or 3 of them this weekend that had better than 13,000. The New England Revolution's 2-0 defeat of the Colorado Rapids on Saturday night saw both teams continue the streaks they carried into the weekend. The Revs extended their winning streak to 2 in a row following last weekend's win over San Jose, while the Rapids' winless streak was extended to 18 games, matching a league record previously set by Real Salt Lake in 2004-05. Colorado 0, New York Revolution 2. The Seattle Sounders survived a second-half red card to pull out a 1-0 victory on Saturday night over the Houston Dynamo at CenturyLink Field thanks to an exquisite tally from star forward Obafemi Martins. The Nigerian DP's 39th minute strike, highlighted by a nifty spin move to set up the finish, was enough to offset the effect of a 56-minute red card to Gonzalo Pineda for a high cleat on Houston's Ricardo Clark. The Vancouver Whitecaps took the game to the LA Galaxy from the opening whistle on Saturday night, putting in a confident and assured performance on the way to a comfortable 2-0 win over the defending MLS champs. Second half goals from Kakuta Mana and Octavio Rivero did the damage as the Whitecaps increased their winning streak to 4. Vancouver 2, LA Galaxy 0. San Jose 0, Real Salt Lake 1. Javier Morales' goal just before halftime was enough to lift Real Salt Lake to a 1-0 win in front of a sellout crowd at Avia Stadium. The game we talked about earlier from last night saw the winless Union, who are now 0-3-2, who were up 2-1 after 90 minutes on Sunday night, only to see Jalal Anababa equalized in the first minute of stoppage time. Then 3 minutes later, Christian Nemeth, a second-half sub who missed Kansas City's last 2 matches with the knee strain, scored his first goal of the year to hand Sporting Kansas City the 3-2 decision and run their unbeaten streak to 3. And our highlighted game of the week saw the Portland Timbers score 3 and FC Dallas 1. Nat Borchers, Maximilio Uredi, and Diego Chara opened their 2015 accounts to lead the Portland Timbers to their first win of the season on Saturday night. FC Dallas tasted defeat for the first time this season after entering the game as Western Conference leaders. They now sit in second with 10 points. Tisho Akindele scoring for the Timber. A quick look at the stats from that one. I do have them, I think. Yes, here they are. Let's see, where's the shots?
I think I've got it here. It is 12-8 in favor of the Timbers.
There it is.
Shots on goal, 6-3 in favor of Timbers.
Thank you. And the yellow cards were 1 for the Timber, 2 for FC Dallas. And I guess that was about it. I guess it was a bit of a surprise to see the maybe not that Portland won at home, but that they won by 2. That's a bit of a surprise, I think. Did you guys see that game?
This is one I did not get to see, Rob. I don't know if you did or not.
No, I don't think so.
I didn't actually see it either, so I guess we just have to go by what we know. The table then now sees in the Eastern Conference DC United on top with 9 points, followed by the Red Bulls and the Revolution, who have come back from a rather bad start on 7 points now. The Fire in 4th on 6 points, followed by New York FC and Orlando SC on 5 points. The Crew in 7th on 3 points, along with Toronto FC, and the Impact and the Union at the foot of the table with 2 points each. In the Western Conference, the Vancouver Whitecaps on top with 12 points. FC Dallas in 2nd with 10. Tied for 3rd is Real Salt Lake and Kansas City. In 5th is Seattle. 6th and 7th is Portland, both on 6 points. In 8th and 9th is LA Galaxy and Houston Dynamo on 5 points. And at the foot of the table are the woeful Colorado Rapids on 3 points. The leading scorers in the MLS are Octavio Rivero of the Whitecaps with 4, followed by a bunch with 3, including Martins, Wondolowski, Dempsey, and Tishu Akindele has 2 in 8th place. And the MLS Team of the Week was Hamad in goal. Hamad? Is it Hamad?
Hamid.
Hey, Hamid, right. Beltran, Marshall, Arunya Collin, and Jones are in the defense. That's, is it Joven Jones from Chicago? I think it's Joven.
I believe that's right.
In defense, it was Benoit Cheru, Javier Morales, and Tibert from the Vancouver Whitecaps. Also from the Whitecaps up front was Kakuta Mana, and Uretti from Portland Timbers, and Juan Agadello from the New England Revolution. And that was your MLS Team of the Week and your MLS wrap-up.
All right. Sebastian Giovinco adding his first goal of the season for Toronto FC in a loss.
Yeah, he played pretty good, though. I thought his passing was outstanding, and he actually should have gotten this. I can't remember who missed, but somebody should have had a tap in on one of the goals that he set up, but it was shot wide.
I think he did set up the second goal, though.
Yeah, he did get an assist too. Yep. But his passing was exquisite. It was really world class passing.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think Toronto will tell you exactly who they are within, I'd say, the next 6 or 7 games. If they're going to be a dysfunctional bunch like they were last year, or they're going to be somebody that's going to challenge for the title, like I had predicted earlier in the season. So,
the defense is really the question mark with Codwell and Perquis both out for the last 2 games in a row. So.
Right. Sure.
And both a little aged, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so Rob, I'm going to throw it over to you. I know we've got on our plan just listing for the Champions League and Europa League. We're going to make our predictions on all the quarterfinal matchups coming up next week in our next show. So we're going to leave the Champions League and Europa League alone. We're also, Mike, I can't remember now, and I didn't look it up. I should have. It's my fault. Do we have CONCACAF Champions League tomorrow night?
Yes.
We do have the second legs tomorrow and Wednesday, I think.
I know tomorrow is the Montreal game.
Yep. So
at 10 p.m. Eastern.
You know what? So let's Rob, I'm going to throw it over to you to give us a quick little recap on the Libertadores, and while you're doing that, I'm going to effort the CONCACAF Champions League information.
Yeah, absolutely. I know in the Copa Libertadores we only had one match this week, and I think it's matches that we both saw. All 3 of us saw.
Actually, 2 matches.
Yeah, 2 matches that all 3 of us have seen,
or
at least to a certain extent. San Lorenzo with a 1-0 victory over São Paulo, a big victory for San Lorenzo, the defending Copa Libertadores champions, who are now level on points for that second place with São Paulo. And Corinthians with a 4-0 victory against Danubio, a hat-trick from Paulo Guerrero and Jadson to make them the first team to qualify out of the group stage. What did you guys think of the game?
Well, first one, I thought Danubio looked terrible. That they look like men among boys in that particular match. against Corinthians. So there was no challenge there, but and Corinthians obviously is going to move through. The San Lorenzo Sao Paulo match I thought was pretty entertaining, to be honest with you. Certainly it was entertaining. I think it could have been played a little bit cleaner, if you know what I mean. Like, it wasn't quite as crisp as we're used to seeing in South America, but still entertaining nonetheless. And you'll always get your share of entertaining out of South America. So, Mike, what did you think of the two matches this week?
I really only watched the first one because the second one was really
irrelevant.
Yeah, I thought so, and we talked about it in chat. But the first game, San Lorenzo as a neutral, it was a must-win for them, and I was glad to see them win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And going back to what you said, Joe, I guess these types of matches when Brazilian clubs play Argentine clubs, nothing's gonna, I guess, be clean.
Right.
Regards to.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a little physical, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to give you a rundown of a few matches that are happening this week?
No doubt about it.
All right.
And we have a highlighted one too, right?
Yes, I believe we do. Let me double check.
Guarani and Racing.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
In the match where I was supposed to be covering this tomorrow, but then something happened. Guarani will be playing Racing Club tomorrow in what appears to be a really interesting matchup. Both teams are, I guess, respectively first and second in their own group. So I guess a win for both of them, I guess a win for Guarani would definitely see them bring some, I guess, advantage or pressure on Racing Club if they get the 3 points to have 8 points behind Racing's 9. And if Racing wins, then that should definitely secure their spot in the knockout stage. We had Palestina.
I'm taking Racing. 2-0.
Well, I guess if you guys are gonna be watching this game, have a look at a player named Gustavo Bo. He's already becoming the top goal scorer of the tournament so far with 6 goals after scoring 2 hat tricks in consecutive games.
He's on Racing?
Yes, he is. The other match we had Palestina playing Zamora in a quite a match that really could go either way. Obviously, Zamora is already eliminated from the tournament, having played 4 games and lost all 4 of them. So a win for Palestina can definitely rejuvenate some hopes of advancing to the round of 16, where they're level on points with Montevideo Wanderers. And we have another one, Atlas against Colo-Colo, where I guess it's one of those other interesting matches as well. Both Colo-Colo, I guess a win for Atlas could definitely see them in first place of the group with Colo-Colo, who has 6 points, followed with Santa Fe with also 6 points, and Mineiro with 3. So a win for either side could definitely see them top of the group come tomorrow. And we have an altitude match, as we would say. San Jose Bolivia taking on Juan Aldrich, Peru, where definitely a win for San Jose. Could see them, I guess, in the top 2 over the Copa Sudamericana champions River Plate, who have been absolutely dreadful so far this tournament, having not won a single game, and out of the 4 matches, 3 draws and 1 loss. Sorry, Joe, I thought you were going to say something?
No, I was going to say that, River has definitely been terrible so far in this tournament. They're currently on 3 points, tied for last with San Jose, and they've got to get it turned around against these other sides, or else they're gonna be out of this tournament, and we wouldn't expect that out of River.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess one more match I would like to mention would be that River Plate game. They're going to Mexico to play Pumas, and this is definitely a must-win for River. If they don't get any point at this game, then you could definitely not see them advance out of the group stage, which would be a complete embarrassment for this club. With the dispense of their rivals Boca, who are currently undefeated and have already advanced to the round of 16.
And currently Pumas leading the group with 10 points.
Yeah, absolutely, and have already advanced to the round of 16.
Yeah. So
should definitely some must-win matches, some must-watch matches, and hope for a good one.
Are you going to make a prediction in the highlight match?
You know what? I don't want to be the I guess the biased person, but to be realistic, I'm going to say 1-1. 1-1. I feel that Guarani can pull something out against this this I guess beatable Racing club.
Mike, you said 2-0 Racing, right?
Yeah.
What'd you say, Joe?
You know what? I'm gonna go for the Paraguayan side. I'm gonna say Guarani 2-1.
2-1.
Yep.
Okay. So one of us will definitely be right.
Oh, especially being at home, I like Guarani's chances. So
yeah, absolutely.
So.
But yeah, that wraps up Copa Libertadores. Hope for some good must-win games for teams and must-watch.
All right, so let's before we get into the week ahead, kind of doing the week ahead backwards a little bit because I had CONCACAF Champions League listed last, but just wanted to touch on their two matches coming up this Tuesday and Wednesday. Let's see. We've got on Tuesday we have Montreal traveling down to Costa Rica to play Alajuelense on Tuesday, tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Like you said, Mike. Montreal walking in there with a 2-0 aggregate lead at the moment, but going to be missing a couple players if I remember correctly, right, Mike?
Yeah, just a rookie, Kyle Porter.
Yeah, Kyle Porter.
Kyle Porter, yeah, and but I don't think they're missing significant players.
No, so let's
although I guess his goal that got them through was significant.
Let's go.
Porter.
Let's go predictions on this one. Mike, what do you think? Alajuelense, Montreal.
1-1.
1-1. That's what I was going to say. Damn it. All right, I'm going to go with a 1-1 as well. Actually, no, I'm going to go 1-0 Alajuelense. 1-0 victory, but obviously being eliminated by Montreal. Rob, what do you think?
1-1.
1-1.
And I hope for, I guess, Montreal to advance to the final.
Yeah, 1-1 moves them through. So we're all
hard to vote for Montreal. It's really hard for me to do that, but yeah,
obviously rooting for the MLS in that one. So let's go to look at the other matchup real quick, where we had Herediano a couple weeks ago beating Club America at home 3-0. So now they're traveling to Azteca. Again, you talk about an altitude match. That's certainly one that's played up at altitude. Club America certainly no slouch at home playing at Azteca. I'm going to go first on this one, I think. I am going to say Club America 2-0 in this one. But I think I think at this point, I think America is going to be eliminated. So, Rob, how about you?
Yeah, I think unless America can pull some miracle and win like 4-0, I think Herediano is going to get this one and advance to the final.
Score?
2-1 for America.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
2-1 America. All right. Okay, so let's go to our week ahead. We might as well keep digging into it. Let's head over to La Liga. And, Rob, our match of the week.
Yep. Obviously, we do have some matches. I don't know if you guys do know this, but we do have some matches midweek in La Liga.
We do. I do know that. I tried to just pick the best match possible.
Yep, absolutely. And we have Sevilla against Barcelona.
Yep.
On the week ahead. Obviously, this is one of these tough matches that Barcelona have to win to, I guess, further their chances of winning La Liga with the expense of their rivals Real Madrid. So I think this is going to be a really hard match, but I see Barcelona pulling through here. 2-1 Barcelona.
2-1 Barcelona. Mike, do you have a predictor on this one?
I do. 1-1.
1-1. Okay. I don't know, Rob. I seem to agree with you on this one, although this is the thinnest of margins. I think that each team will score. I think Barca will win this one, but it's going to be very, very tight moving forward in this one. So, moving over to Ligue 1, our featured match of the week is going to be Bordeaux at home to Marseille. Marseille obviously coming in on that heartbreaking loss to PSG over the weekend in Le Classique. Bordeaux has currently won 3 of their last 6 matches. They're currently sitting 6th on the table, just outside the European positions. And Marseille has kind of slipped a bit here going into this match and kind of slipped out of the race for the lead. Both teams, on decent form. We have goal-scoring leaders, Roland on 11 goals for Bordeaux, where we have Gignac, who is currently second in the league on 18 goals himself. But I got to tell you, Marseille to me looked pretty impressive over the weekend. Bordeaux, if I remember correctly, just pulling out that last-minute victory over RC Lens in their last match. That's right, 2-1. I'm gonna take Marseille in this one, gentlemen. I'm gonna take Marseille 2-1. So, what do we have a predictor on this one? Or have we lost?
Rob, that would be Rob, right? Oh, me or Rob?
Yeah, no, you, the predictor.
I only use the that for my MLS and EPL. These ones are mine.
Okay.
Outside of that, I've got 1-1.
1-1. All right, Rob?
2-1 Marseille.
2-1 Marseille. So, okay. So let's go over to the Bundesliga. Rob, how about you?
Yeah, we have Borussia Mönchengladbach playing Borussia Dortmund. Obviously, Borussia Dortmund coming out of that tight loss against Bayern Munich over the weekend. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a must-win for both of them, given Borussia Mönchengladbach's advantage to secure, I think, third or fourth place in the table. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say 1-1.
1-1 in this one.
Yep.
Let's see, Rob. I'm actually thinking Dortmund's gonna come back with a vengeance on this one. I'm gonna take Dortmund in this one 2-1. Mike?
Mönchengladbach 2, Dortmund 1.
There you go. So one of us is going to be right. So let's head over to the Serie A, where we have our featured match of the week is Fiorentina on the road to Napoli. Napoli's currently on terrible form, gentlemen. Lost 3 of their last 5 matches. They're winless in those 5 as well. Led in goals by Gonzalo Higuain with 13 goals, Jose Callejon with 9, and Zapata with 6 goals. We have Babacar and Rodriguez. I'm sorry, Babacar leading the way with Fiorentina with 7 goals. Rodriguez on 5 and Mario Gomez on 4 goals. Fiorentina on a little bit better form. They've won 3 of their last 5 matches. Most recently was the match victory over the weekend, 2-0 over a tough Sampdoria side. And with Napoli failing at the moment, guys, I've got to think that Fiorentina's going to roll into this one. They're really getting a big spark from Mohamed Salah. So I'm going to stick with Fiorentina in this one, 2-0. I don't know if, Rob, you want to throw your hat in the ring on this?
You know what? I'm going to agree with you here and say 2-1 as well for Fiorentina.
2-1 for Fiorentina. And Mike?
1-1.
1-1 draw. And the EPL, where we have our most recent version of El Clasico. This is probably the match of the year in the EPL. Mike, I'm going to give it to you.
El Stinko.
El Stinko?
That's what I'm calling it. Manchester United 1, Manchester City 2.
I'm sorry, United 1, City 2?
Uh-huh.
All right. Did you have a predictor on this one?
I did.
What did the predictor?
That is what it said.
Oh, the 1-2 is the predictor for City. On the road at Old Trafford, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. City's playing awful right now. I hate to pick United because I'm not a United fan, but I'm going to go 2-1 United. Rob, how about you?
1-0 United.
1-0 United. So, Mike, for your sake, I hope the two of us are wrong.
Yeah, if it was closer, I'd say so too. But
right.
Other than we really need third place, that's what we're playing for, it looks like.
Yeah. I'm going to give the keys to the car back to you for MLS.
Okay, LA Galaxy versus Seattle Sounders in a rematch of last year's Western Conference Final. Unfortunately, the simulator didn't see an edge for either team, and it is going to finish 2-2.
2-2. I'm going to actually take a Seattle victory in this one. I am going to go with a 2-1 Seattle victory. Rob?
1-1.
1-1. Wow, I'm the contrarian. So, fair enough. I don't mind being that at all.
You know it's in L.A., right?
Yes, I do know it was in L.A., and I think if I remember correctly last year to close the season, Seattle either tied in L.A. or they actually beat L.A. in L.A. to win the Supporter Shield. So,
right, L.A. really needs a win, though.
Yeah, they all do. But that's how I'm sticking on my guns. I'm sticking with Seattle Sounders. They also had if I remember right, they had the week off this week. Am I correct in saying that?
Who, the Galaxy?
No. The Seattle Sounders, I believe, had.
No, they played. They won 1-0 on that Oberfami Martin's beautiful goal. Rob's seen it.
Yes, against the Houston Dynamo. That's right. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm still sticking to my guns, and I'm still sticking with a Seattle Sounders victory.
The surprising thing about the Sounders this weekend was that Clint Dempsey played.
Oh.
You're supposed to be out for at least 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So,
shocking.
So do you want to recap the trivia question for us?
I will. I can ask it again. I really wanted to ask this to Tony Meola and forgot because I bet you he would have got this. I have been a teammate of Mika Richards, Santi Carzola, Cristiano Ronaldo, Shea Given, and Andrea Pirlo. Who am I?
Well, and Tony Meola would have gotten this.
Mm. Want me to say something?
Go ahead.
Carlos Tevez?
Keep that as one answer in the. Oh, all right, then that's not correct.
Sorry. I didn't.
I'm going with an American, and I'm going to go with something stupid and something crazy. And
Last time you said that, you Googled it.
Nope, and I haven't Googled it.
Okay.
What is it?
I'm going with Tim Howard.
No.
Oh.
And the reason I think he would have got this, and I don't know if you guys were kidding. I guess you were when you said this guy was from New Jersey.
Not Giuseppe Rossi.
Giuseppe Rossi.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man, that's not cool. Oh, man. Oh, well, when did he play?
And it just turned out that you guys mentioned him. Like, the question definitely wasn't built around that. I had already named the question.
Wait.
When did he play with half of those guys? Do you have that?
I've been a teammate. Oh, no, it makes sense. No, it makes sense.
I don't have it, but I know.
Okay,
no,
I can find it.
Why does it make sense?
Played for Manchester United with Ronaldo.
Okay.
Played for Fiorentina with Micah Richards.
Yeah.
Played for Villarreal with Santi Cazorla.
Yes.
Played on the Italian national team with Pirlo.
I forgot about that.
I don't know where Shea Given fits, but somewhere.
I think
United.
Yeah.
There you go then.
Let me check.
That's so gross.
Let me check.
That's not cool.
Oh no, Newcastle.
Oh, I played with them in Newcastle.
Yep.
Still United.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I guess
Do you think he would have got that?
I don't know.
That's a hard one.
That's certainly one of the tougher ones you've ever given us. The one name answers.
But it turns out to be not that bad, right?
No.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
and it's really weird that you guys mentioned. I was like, oh my god.
That is.
Now that guy's really from New Jersey.
He is.
Tony Meola or?
No, Giuseppe Rossi.
Yes, he is. He's born American. He's one of those. He would have been a great Klinsmann guy because he wasn't born in Germany. So he's actually an American-born player who went to play for Italy instead. Kind of like Neven Subotic went to Croatia?
Serbia.
Thank you. Subotic is is American-born.
Right.
I believe he's American-born.
Oh no, he's Yugoslavian born.
Is he?
Yep.
I thought he was American born.
He came to the States when he was 11.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then Rossi would have been, and that was one of the ones where we kind of had that that whole debate on who would you play for. Last week Giuseppe Rossi is one of those guys in mind. So
he's technically.
So surely he's the best player from New Jersey, no?
Joe.
I don't know. That's debatable.
Joe.
Yes, sir.
He's technically Bosnian, if you ask me.
Bosnian. Okay. I couldn't remember, but yeah. That's debatable. I mean, I don't know if you want to take 30 seconds here to debate it quickly.
I can't debate it, but I'll definitely listen to what you got to say.
I mean, I really shouldn't leave Tab Ramos off the list like I have. I'm still
better than Giuseppe Rossi.
Yeah, I would put Reina ahead of Rossi. I would put Claudio Reina ahead of Giuseppe Rossi. And again, like Tony Meola said, they played in different eras.
Yeah, but look at the accomplishment difference.
Oh,
true.
But I think Reina at that time was good enough to play in those places.
You think Reina could have played for Italy?
I do.
At that time?
I do. I mean, does he start? Does he start? I don't know. Well, you've got to remember, it's the late 90s.
I know. That's why when they were even better. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say they were better because they, the 98
I think
World
they're
Cup.
definitely better the 90 team than the team
94.
right now.
Well, 94 they finished in the final, but
exactly.
98 they got eliminated early, if I remember correctly.
They did.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess it depends on when you're talking about it, but
right now the Italy team compared to them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Italy team's better.
The other one.
Yeah, now back then was better, right?
And also, it's tough to compare them because they play different positions.
True.
You know, where Reina was more of that number 10 player, Rossi's more of an out-and-out striker. So it's tough to, it's tough to compare them because of the positioning. But I think I would still stick with Claudio Reina. I really do. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe we'll have to ask somebody next week. Actually, we've got a good guest next week who's.
We had a good guest. I guess we should have pressed him a little further.
Yeah, but this is when you're thinking out loud and you all of a sudden you come up with some of these thoughts and you're like, oh, I should have asked that.
I know, and as soon as he said it, I wanted to ask that, and I forgot the trivia question.
Oh,
as soon as you guys mentioned that name, I was thinking, I'm going to ask the trivia now to him too.
Yeah. So, all right, gentlemen. Unless we have any more unfinished.
I'll say
business.
something.
Oh yes, please.
We have the FA Cup this week.
Okay.
So I guess a special mention to Ben. Blackburn Rovers playing Liverpool in the replay.
Yeah, and Liverpool obviously getting smoked from Arsenal this week. Maybe Blackburn is it's got a shot.
Winner plays. Trying to check who they play. Winner plays
Arsenal. Yeah.
Winner plays.
Did
Arsenal.
you guys see?
No. Aston Villa.
Oh, okay.
Winner plays Aston Villa. Reading play Arsenal.
Okay. Mike, you were saying?
Did you see after the Timbers game when is it
Caleb
Jason
Porter.
Kreis? You see the coach of Dallas?
Yes.
Came over
with
to
the
shake
tissues.
hands with Portland, and they handed him a tissue.
Yes, I did see that.
God.
That was pretty aggressive.
That was funny.
Yeah, and he threw it right back at him. So
Yeah.
that was funny.
MLS needs more of that.
And that's what Taylor Twellman said.
Yeah, I agree with him. I agree with him. Exactly. I thought it was good.
So
Funny. Made me laugh.
all right. On that note, let's hit the closing music. So, again, for episode 68 of Low Limit Football, special thanks to our guest, Nima Tavalley, and the great Tony Meola. Joining us next week, at the moment, confirmed for next week, is George DiMarzio from Bein Sport. Going to be great to have him back. He was really the guy that started us on our string of great guests, and we're really happy to have him back. And I had a great time tonight, gentlemen. So for episode 68 of Low Limit Football, I am Joe Usello.
And I'm Roberto Rojas.
And I'm Mike Orr.
Thanks again for joining us, and good night.
Thanks for listening.